If I started learning something new, I just collect it and use it. That's all my sound parks were. My way of studying. This is about my history. This is about legacy.
There's something that I kind of want to talk about real quick. I woke up this morning and had a realization. And the realization came from this thought that I've been having about words. You guys know my obsession with the mind and words for this entire year. If you've been watching the stream, y'all will know that I go off on long tangents talking about the mind, how my mind works, how words work. And so within coming to that realization about words, I started putting things together about not only just upgrading, but what keeps people in the same place. Why? And matter of fact, I'm gonna propose this to you guys. What makes somebody stuck? Y'all ever thought about that? Like, what makes someone stuck? Like, you can be, and how many people do we know? How many people do we know creatively that has, we in 2025 over what? Yeah. I'm gonna do not disturb. Lack of motivation. Flannel Lewis says lack of motivation. What's good, Flannel? Haven't seen you pop. Yeah, I haven't seen your name in a minute. I feel like you popped up a few days ago. But yeah, like what creates someone to get stuck? And so I had to do some digging. And within the digging, I woke up yesterday and I had a thought. And the thought was, oh, before I get to it, Sienna says, for me, sometimes it had to do with my routine or some sense of fear. Judah1 says comfort. Okay. Someone who's scared to take risks. Mo Gratitude says not delegating or scheduling. Crash X Fleet says lack of ideas, fear of failing, lack of motivation, or all three. So I feel like lack of motivation is a constant. Subconscious programs from the past. Okay, Albert, you and me are on the we're looking at the same thing. Okay, we're looking at the same set of marbles. Subconscious programs from the past. Happy New Year, Dad, son. First thing that came to mind was Humpty Dumpty. Oh, you know what? I never have seen the full poem on that. Humpty Dumpty poem. All right. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Man. Listen, bro. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again. Humpty was, as you can see from the poem, it's not stated that Humpty is an egg. Edison J says no discipline and a lack thereof curiosity, routine can be detrimental to one's creativity and cause issues with true progression. Fear always paralyzes lack of motion, not applying faith fully with the works. Yeah, that's a good point. And so I say all this because y'all are right on the head with it. I think the number one thing that I feel creates someone getting stuck is their words. And I will explain to you what I mean by that. I woke up and listen to a gentleman by the name of Myron Golden. I've been listening to him for the entire year. That is. I've been listening to him for a year. And boy, oh boy, has my life tremendously improved. Purely by my thoughts. And I'll tell you exactly why. When I first started becoming aware of my words, I remember realizing whenever I was going through a lot, because of course, I am aware that when life gets tough, that's when my real feelings will come out. And what I became aware of is it is important to become aware of when you're feeling your feelings. There's nothing wrong with your feelings. I even watched Disney movie, what's the one about the emotions? Like what's the what you call it? What's the name of the movie that has like all the Disney movie with all the emotions? Like the fire, the happiness, sadness, anxiety, like it's a Disney movie. I'm blanking on the name of it right now. I don't know why. But that movie, y'all probably gonna say it in the chat. Inside Out 2. I watched Inside Out 2 and 1. I realized feelings, like your feelings, your emotions, your internal emotional expression is simply a notification to what is actually going on, what is the reality of your situation. Because something that I used to challenge myself with, and I became aware of it earlier this year, was that your feelings are real, but the real question is, are they true? That's the big kicker. So I say that because to circle back around, what makes someone stuck? And when I heard Myron Golden say this, I was like, hey, yo. And I'm going to paraphrase it because my brain has been expanding the thought process of what I learned from Myron. So he mentioned this thing that said words are the environmental format that your entire being operates off of. And that was crazy. He said your words are the format of how your entire being operates. And it's crazy to think, because, and he mentioned this as well as like a reference, but when we were babies, we came onto this planet not knowing anything. And I mean anything. We didn't know anything coming onto the planet. Nobody ever has just learned something before they were even a baby. Like, you come into the world knowing nothing. You come in goo goo gaga, crawling to walking, stumbling a little bit, learning how to ride a bike, learning how to walk, learning how to, like, all these different things have all been a part of a programming process that we have learned by purely observing a pattern. And what's crazy is it's bigger than just the physical aspect of getting up and walking, getting up, crawling, and talking and moving. Now, here's something crazy. This same exact thing lies within what we learned as our first set of words. And so I'll never forget hearing him say the format of our words. And all it reminded me of was this scripture that I always literally refer to when we come to creating. So check this out. In the beginning was the Word. 1 John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So, in the Bible, and you can look this up, the Word is not only just God, right? God's Word. the Bible is essentially this middle ground that God utilized to be able to convey a message to us. And I was starting to realize what made me stuck in an emotion consistently was the words that I used every single day. Like literally the words that I woke up, utilize to be able to go and get myself out of bed, go work out, go maneuver, go talk to this person, go talk to this person, maybe go talk to this person, maybe I'm gonna go and engage with this other guy. All of it is through words. And something that I recognize is it's not necessarily the words, but it's how those words are being used. It's how those words are being conveyed. The words are just the environmental crafting space that something is laid. So if we reference 1 John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. You got to go back to Genesis, and God in the beginning started with, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And then God said, let there be light. And now I look at it and I realize, oh my gosh, it's the words you use and how they're being used. So let's just go ahead and address everything that people really feel. I saw some people mention lack of motivation, a lack of feeling like they're good enough. Imposter syndrome. What do people tell themselves when they have a feeling of imposter syndrome? Matter of fact, I'm so curious to know what the word and the origin of the word syndrome is. So let's go ahead and look this up. So let's see here. Syndrome, origin, word. Because we're going to crack a code together. We're going to crack a code. Definition. Define the word syndrome. So, syndrome, a noun, a group of symptoms which consistently occur together, or a condition characterized by a set of associated symptoms. So, think about imposter syndrome, right? So let's go ahead and go and look it up. Imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is the feeling that you are a fraud or unworthy of your accomplishments, and that people will eventually discover your true nature. It can cause anxiety, insecurity, and self-doubt, and can negatively impact your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. While it's not a mental health disorder, imposter syndrome is fairly common, affecting an estimated 70% of people at some point in their lives. It can affect anyone regardless of their background, skill level, or expertise. Some signs of imposter syndrome include feeling like you're not as talented or worthy as others think, worrying that people will realize you're not as good as you seem, putting off tasks or over preparing them. Now, here's something, I'm gonna just pause it for 1 second while I'm explaining this. Do y'all remember when I was talking about worry? Remember we were talking about the origin of the word worry this year? Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that during that Twitch stream I was talking about the origin of worry? Worrying that people will realize you're not as good as you seem. Let's look up this word. Worrying. Causing anxiety about actual or potential problems. Alarming. Worry, the origin. The word worgen, which originally meant to strangle. Over time, the word's meaning changed to harass and then to cause anxiety too. The word worry was first used before the 12th century. And it gets even deeper. Worgen, to strangle, Lithuanian to constrict, Old Frisian worgia means to kill, Old Norse Virgil related to the word worry. The word worry wasn't used to describe feeling anxiety until the 1800s, the late 1800s. The earliest known objective worrisome was in the 1840s. Bro, to strangle. Y'all know what does it look like to strangle? Like, remember the Tattletale Strangler? So, you mean to tell me worrying, imposter syndrome, these symptoms create something that feels so very real. But you have to think for just 1 second. We all came onto this planet not knowing anything. We never, ever decided to ask the question, what does a word mean? What does it represent? And here's the worst part. Sometimes we take those feelings and put it on, or decide to, if I could just choke my microphone, strangle it. We decide to take those words and hold on to it. When you look at it, I need y'all to sit with that for a second, just for 1 second. We literally will look at a word, no, that's exactly how we feel, and put it on like it's a cloak, like it's a jacket, like it's a shirt, and we wear it, and we assume that is our identity. But here's the craziest part. You learned it. You learned that feeling feels very real. And I'm not saying that your feelings aren't real. I want to validate that your feelings are so real. But here's the real question. It's not a matter if they're real or not. It's a matter if they're true. And something tells me if you did not know anything about music before and you learned how to get better at making music, then that is something that can become unlearned. Imposter syndrome is something that people wear. We strangle it. We like, you ever seen someone put someone in a headlock? This is what we're doing to the words, and we're holding on to it as if it is our possession. But the truth of the matter is, if you learned how to put someone in a headlock, you could simply just, you could let go, right? I don't know how to let go. You don't know how to let go of those feelings? You don't have to let go of the words you're saying? Well, if you look at this, after a while, this can become very uncomfortable. You have to let it go. You have to let it go. Unlearn and relearn what the truth is. The truth is you came onto this planet not knowing anything. And the fact that you learned how to make music, you learned those words that I don't feel important. You may feel that way, but what's the truth? You got people that care about you. You got people that listen to what you have and they love it. If there's ever been anybody in your life that has heard what you said and said they liked it, I'm going to give you some real news, pimp. You shouldn't be holding on to this, especially moving on to next year. Literally. Imposter syndrome, this is what it looks like. This is what we're doing without realizing it. It's almost one of those things where you're holding on to something that, and here's the craziest part, when you're aware that you are not your emotions, you are not your feelings. You are not what you feel. What you feel is like stocks. They change. Feelings change. Imposter syndrome is one of the highest crooks I've ever seen take away some of the most talented individuals, some of the greatest minds. The art of letting go. Yes, that's what it is, Vance. You gotta let go. You gotta be willing to let go of the words that you're using to unlearn. And I want everybody to put at least into practice, moving on to next year. And this is, I am a key. So how does one get over that? How you get over is not necessarily getting over, but you get through it by becoming aware of the words you are using. Matter of fact, I told a buddy of mine a question. I told a buddy of mine this thing because he was telling me, and I won't even disclose his name. He's just a very talented keyboardist, very talented musician, travels all over the planet. Crazy. Someone in his caliber also has experienced imposter syndrome. Like, what I'm doing good enough? Am what I'm doing appeasing for other people? Am I really living up to my highest, fullest potential? Right? And those are great questions to ask, but if we do not allow ourselves to become aware of the words that we are using, just think about it for perspective. Think about how many words there are on a daily thing. And actually, you know what? I'm actually gonna look some up real quick. Think about the words that you use every single day and monitor those words. Like, have you ever listened to yourself speak? Have you ever listened to yourself talk? Have you ever listened to the words that are coming out of your mouth? Because that is the machine that runs your entire being. The machine that runs your being is your words. The only way to let go of baggage is to look at your words. Look at your words and become aware. Sebastian said it best. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Your life and your death is sitting in your words. If you feel like you have no good ideas, then you keep repeating that. Your brain and your body will slowly start to evolve from that. I actually told myself that at the beginning of the year, but you know what? Something told me, I realized I'm not aware that I'm not utilizing everything that I'm using. I'm not using it. What do I have? What do I have more than anything in this room? If this whole room was stripped away, and I just had a computer and a MIDI controller and a microphone, am I going to allow not having things in this room dictate what I make? No. And I began to realize it's a matter of my imagination. Do you know how powerful your voice is? Do you know how powerful your mind is? Now watch this. I'm gonna blow your mind. Do you know how powerful your mind gets when the machine that you have is telling this what to do? You know, you can tell yourself you're going to have a good day. And I'm pretty sure none of y'all have ever heard or asked the question, what if you told yourself, I'm going to have a good day? Whether good or bad things happen, I'm going to have a good day. Because life is inevitable. Life, I can't predict it. Life is whatever it is. But just know you can tell yourself, I'm going to choose to have a good day regardless of it's good or bad happening in my life. Because life happens. But when life happens, you can look at it and be like, you know what? I don't say what I'm thankful for all the time. I don't say what I'm appreciative of all the time. And then when you start noticing what you aren't appreciating, oh my gosh, Do you know how powerful your mind will get? Your whole perception will start to change. I think having a good voice is just having command over your voice. You have command over your voice. Like right now, if you told yourself, I am a king, I'm not going to use what Kanye said, because Kanye went overboard. He was like, I am a god. He was like, I just told you who I thought I was. I God. Like, remember how he was going crazy like that on the Apple interview? Kanye was like telling y'all, like, you command your being to think a certain way, the way your words are being used every single day. And I never ever thought from the perspective that if I sit at a table for 30 minutes with a laptop and some sounds, that I'll make a beat out of anything. Like, and this is the craziest part. I really want to drive this home for you guys. Look at this session, bro. Have y'all ever considered that every time we started on a beat, regardless of a sample being in the Discord or not, I always looked at this thing. Look, I look at this page of my computer screen every day, and I'm like, I'm gonna make something good. I'm going to make something good. Have you ever just considered that you have a gift? If you could look at something like nothing and be like, I'm gonna make fire out of nothing. Yo, like, we're co-creators. That's basically what I'm saying. Like, God has given us the ability over not only just our words, but our abilities, our gifts, our talents, our thoughts. The things that you're interested in are all a part of a power. Do you know how insane it is to look at this and be like, I'm going to make an orchestra? If you were to tell a normal person, what did you start with? I mean, I had all my instruments. It's crazy, but you know what? And this is what I would suggest to everybody watching this. This is what because I really feel it right now. I would suggest this. I would really suggest, if you feel like you've lost your voice, you can actively at this moment look on a piece of paper. Write down on a piece of paper. And I want you to do this. Write something good that you feel about you. And I have to remind myself at times what the truth of the matter is. I know I'm loved. I know I'm cared for. I know I'm cute. I'm an attractive dude. I'm very motivated. I'm always inspired to make something out of nothing. If you just write that on a piece of paper and circle it and read it out to yourself, there's a little voice inside of your body. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna mess your brain up. Don't even say it out loud. Read it. And then when you feel ready to talk, start saying it every day. Repeat it, internalize it. Because that is the voice that you need to utilize to navigate any situation. If you feel like you're in a rough patch, just know that rough patch is simply the patchiness of your words not being used in the way they could be used. Trust me. That's why they tell people to read all the time. Because if you read all the time, you're going to become more aware of the words. Not only just the words, but how words are being used. That's why I love anime, because the way they utilize words is powerful. Go back and watch the old Dragon Ball Z. They talk a lot about men being aware of their words, divine order, sense of self. Like the old Dragon Ball Z in the 90s, like the first couple seasons, they were on it, okay? They were on it. Judah One says, I talk to myself all the time when no one's around. It's therapeutic. I talk to myself all the time, and I feel very comfortable with it. I feel very comfortable with it because, like, I literally, bro, if only y'all knew how much I talk to myself on a daily basis, it honestly drives me from not going crazy. If I didn't talk to myself and I was just in pure silence all the time, I wouldn't know what to think. I'd have to talk. Kern says our vocabulary can influence the quality of our life. I just tapped it right now, but this sounds like a fire talk. Shanks, long story short, your words. Oh, that makes sense, bro. Your words are literally the format that creates the environment your being, your living being lives in. So be aware of your words. I just broke down imposter syndrome, and yeah, I feel like people are carrying things that don't belong to them. Like, do you know how many times, and this is, matter of fact, hold on, I'm gonna break a whole thing off of somebody right now. How many times have people called you less than a child of God? Like, how many times have people called you things that have hurt your feelings, that have said things that have like really affected how you feel? And maybe we just disregard it, but the way that you feel goes back to your mind. Like, you know how terrifying it is to have someone that you care about tell you something that you're just terrible, you know? And so literally, I realized someone told me those words, and unlike our hands, like if someone told you to let go of a rope, you'd let go of a rope. But if someone told you to let go of a word, how would you do that? Stop using the word. I think out loud every day. I don't care if I'm crazy for it. That is a superpower, pimp. You need to use that. Imposter syndrome, oh my gosh. Like, yeah, bro, I've watched so many people, and here's the worst part. I've watched so many dope creatives over the last 15 years literally stop making music. And you want to know why? Not because of money. Not because a career didn't pan out of it. I know people that were making beats because they just purely loved making music. But I know people who stopped making music because they didn't feel connected to it. They didn't feel like they didn't want to do it anymore. They didn't feel like they wanted to continue on to something that wasn't giving back to them. They didn't feel a feeling. Now, let me tell you something about feelings, right? Let me tell you something about feelings. Feelings are just the notification, right? And actually, you know what? Let's look this up. Let's look this up so we can, because like I feel like I'm about to help somebody right now. Feeling definition. So, feeling, an emotional state or reaction, a belief, especially a vague or irrational one, showing emotion or sensitivity. Emotion. Now, what is emotion? Search Google for emotion. Emotion, a natural instinctive state of mind derived from one's circumstances, mood, or relationships with others. Instinctive or intuitive feeling as distinguished from reasoning or knowledge. Now, origin of the word. Out. X, E, move, emovere, emorvoi, excite, emotion. Mid-century, denoting a public disturbance, from French emotion, emovere, excite, based on emovere and a variation of X, out, move, moving out. What are we moving out? Moving out energy. Think how words can, is the Myron Golden video called How Words Can Make a Way for You? That's another one, but he talks about the same concept. How to upgrade your life for success. That's the one. But yeah, where did the word emotion originate? Emovere, which means to stir the sentiments. stir the sentiments. They are strong feelings acquired from one's mood, circumstances, or relationship with others. Emotions are a part of state of mind. It's a conscious mental reaction. Emotions and thinking are inversely related. Yeah. So it's a conscious mental reaction, and emotions and thinking are inversely related. The origin of human emotions, such as love and fear, are associated with ancient parts of the psyche. Social emotions, such as guilt and pride, evolved with social primates. Evolutionary psychologists consider human emotions to be best adapted to the life of our ancestors led in nomadic foraging bands. Do you think it's more powerful to speak things out loud or write them down? Well, I'll say it like this. Wherever you dwell is where your words, it's both. The cure is to staying in motion. The cure really is to look at what you're using. It really is just from what you're using. So I'll say it like this. What I noticed is more powerful is not just what I speak out loud, but also where I dwell. So think about it from this perspective. What's been powerful to me is realizing every time I wake up, I'm typically on my cell phone. Think about, and actually I would propose this as a question for you guys to answer. When you wake up and you spend your 24 hours awake on this part of the planet, what or where are you for majority of that time? Are you on your phone? Are you scrolling? Are you playing video games? Are you at your job? Are you catch what I'm saying? Are you in your car driving to your job? Are you driving a truck? Are you working for Amazon, hypothetically speaking? Where do you sit every single day and do your bidding? Literally, how and where do you go? Where do you spend majority of your day? Wherever you spend your days is what needs to be surrounding you visually and stimulating wise when you read things. So let's say for instance, I used to work this job as a catering specialist. There was nothing inspiring around that area for me. It was just sandwiches, salads, and soups, and people being mad that they didn't get their salad dressing. And I dealt with that for like a good couple of years. And after I realized that my words that I was typically intaking on a constant basis, I needed to be surrounded by people whose words were powerful. So I would go and hang out either with my buddy Spot, and he would just speak what he wanted to say into a microphone, and I would mix it down. And after a while, something begins to happen. If you sit listening to someone's music long enough, especially hearing someone's voice for a constant amount of time, I'm very aware of the voice. I used to sit and listen to acapellas. I used to sit and make beats and never, ever, ever question, is the feeling that this thing giving me, is it giving me life? And I realized every time I made beats, every time I made chords, every time I sat down on a laptop computer, it gave me just a little bit of life to be able to maneuver and go throughout my day. So I'm not even gonna cap with you. I've been sitting in this room since 7 a.m. in the morning, simply because the words that I love listening into the acapellas, making beats, at least taking an hour out of my day before I would go to my job back in the day, I would spend an hour just listening to acapellas and seeing how I could take the acapella and blend it with a beat. And the feeling it gave me, there's nothing like taking a beat you made and putting it with an acapella and then being like, oh, you know that feeling when you're making a remix and you're like, dang, this This feels good to me, bro. Like, you know, when you make something, it really speaks to you. That is life, bro. So it's not a matter of the words you say. It's not even a matter of the words that you're surrounded by. It's the words that you are utilizing. And words are just kind of like the format. It's the little mediator to be able to convey what you really feel. Whether we realize it or not, we using words to describe how we feel. Whether it be words, whether it be physical beings, like actual things. You know, when people be like, I feel like I'm being weighed down. Like, you being weighed down because you holding on to hurt. That word that someone gave you was very hurtful. They didn't apologize. You're looking for an apology. And now you're trying to seek closure. Well, I'll tell you something. This is going to be the closing thing that I'm going to leave with. I am going to let you know that whatever that thing was that someone told you, whether it was hurtful, whether life has treated you in a very hurtful way, whether you feel like life is not on your side, just know that no matter what word you've been given, you can challenge to say if it's real or true. And if it's not real, let it go. If it's not true, ignore it. Replace it with something that is true. I am loved. I'm cared for. I'm talented. I believe in myself. I believe in my friends. I believe in my dreams. It's going to take time, but I think within time is supposed to literally teach you how to handle all of it. Time is intended to teach you. If you don't feel like you're getting, if you don't feel like you need to, that feeling when you escape into the soundscape of your first beat and you realize like it can apply to any beat in the future. That is exactly it, Nate. You see what I'm saying? Albert says, bro, are you saving this live? All my streams get saved, by the way. So if you want to go and watch all this back, I'm going to definitely take this moment and upload it. But yeah, that's the whole point. I hope all that made sense, bro. You have power over your own words, whether you realize it or not. And when you become aware of it, take a hold of the word that is real and true and be like, yo, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Think about how crazy it is when someone calls you lesser than a child of God and someone looks at you and they go, oh, you're da 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 da, you're nothing, you're this, you're that. You know, I'd be like, I'm a child of God. And I'm not gonna accept that. You know? Even if that's your own self, sometimes you gotta tell yourself, be like, self, say, like, self, I'm special. I'm great. And anytime I walk into any space, I know I'm going to be able to maneuver in a way that's going to be serving other people. That's what I tell myself every single day. And hilariously enough, every time I get on this stream and every time I get in a new area, I always win, bro. It never fails. Yeah, it's not pride. It's just, I know I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Vance, shout out to, hey, listen, process this for as long as you need. But I'm telling you this because once I became aware that I'm in control of my words, I'm in control of my mind, I'm in control of the things that I feel. Feelings are like stocks. As soon as my dad told me my feelings are like stocks, they change. They will be up and they have down. Hey, I'm telling you, I'm trying to tell y'all. And I guarantee you, if you put this into practice, at least becoming aware of your words and seeing how they maneuver, they literally will machine your being. Machine your very fabric of your being. You will find yourself in places you would never expect if you just talk to yourself differently. That's all I gotta say. So